Hey, so for today's episode, we're going to go over the top 10 metrics that you need to be measuring for your marketing. You don't want to miss today's episode.
Welcome to IndustrialSage, a free video podcast series all about digital marketing for industrial manufacturers. Hear interviews with your peers and find out how they're solving the same challenges that you might be facing in your own field. Coming to you from the Optimum Production Studio in Atlanta, Georgia, this is IndustrialSage.
All right, so let's jump into today's episode. I have Mr. David Karen, who is now our Chief Marketing Officer at IndustrialSage, and he's also the new podcast host extraordinaire of a new podcast that we launched called the Agency Success Podcast. You can check it out. David, thank you for joining me today.
Happy to be here, Danny.
I'm super excited. So David's going to be a little bit more of a regular, as now he is drinking the Kool-Aid here at IndustrialSage. I mentioned to you last year and through a lot of different episodes is that he's referencing there's Kool-Aid in here, kind of, and we got a lot of changes. So obviously you can tell one of the biggest things is we've changed our logo and the design and the colors back here. It's a little different on the website. It looks different as well. So if you're listening, you're gonna have to go to IndustrialSage.com to take a look at this, look at the videos. We got a lot of really cool things coming down the track, so be excited because it's going to be amazing. All right, so David, let's jump into these marketing metrics, and we've got 10 of them here. There's interesting. So some of these, to me, to be honest with you, I guess I know most of these or all of these, right? But I think sometimes that we can kind of get lost, especially with all the data. So it's kind of like break it down, like from your standpoint. If we break these down to like the 10 most important, what are they?
Right. So, at the end of the day, it's all about dollars and cents. It's all about the revenue. Mm-hmm. So you need to track the sales revenue that's being generated from all of your different marketing efforts.
Yeah,
seems
that
obvious.
Kind of sounds obvious, but that's not being done all the time.
Not being done all the time. And also in terms of priorities.
Right.
When you're looking at all the different metrics, you pull down a spreadsheet from a variety of dashboards and platforms. There's 30, 40, 50 different metrics you're tracking.
Yeah.
Number one, sales revenue.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that totally makes all the sense in the world. That can be, obviously challenging to be able to tie a direct attribution to any particular tactic or even a strategy as a whole. But obviously that's kind of the golden goose, right? If we can match our activity to sales revenue, that's awesome. Yeah. I think the exciting thing now is that there are tools that are enabling us to be able to better do that. Maybe not all the time, but a lot better than you might be able to do before. So
yeah, exactly.
All right, sweet. What else do you get on the list?
So digital marketing ROI.
Okay, all right. So a little ambiguous. What is that?
Well, it's thinking from the overall hierarchy of all the different marketing activities that you're doing, what you're investing, well, what is that return on investment?
That makes sense.
So are we generating enough revenue based on these different activities to say, are we going to continue doing these activities or are we going to stop?
Right, yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Would you tie that number, as far as gauging a success? Obviously, if you wanted to be able to tie that back to revenue, that would be number one. But what if maybe that isn't feasible? What would be a good sample of being able to measure success there?
Really, I think you're only going to be able to track what you're able to measure. So if you're not collecting the data,
right, it
is ambiguous. You're not going to be able to figure out that return on investment. In a lot of ways, you can rely on your gut. I know we kind of joke around it sometimes.
Yeah, no, it's true.
But realistically, if you can see that you've started these different marketing activities, and while you can't necessarily track back a specific sale to it through the marketing software, through the tools that are collecting data, but you've seen a sudden spike in phone calls out of the blue.
Right.
Maybe you're not tracking it. Your SEO, your organic rankings are suddenly spiking, and generating a lot more traffic that way.
Yep.
Sometimes you can't see, specifically where those keywords are coming in from. So you got to use a little bit of your gut. But we also, with those tools that we have, with the HubSpots, the Salesforce, Eloquia, all the different automation tools, they're making it way easier to pull all those different data points in and be able to show that ROI.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's one of the exciting things about that. I could say a million more things. We got eight more of these things to go through. So let's keep on moving. What's the next one we got here?
Yeah, so we can go really in depth into some of these, but customer lifetime value.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, when you sit down, we're typically, as a sales team, focused on new business.
Yeah.
We need new customers, new revenue, new business. But are we tracking what the lifetime value of that particular account is?
That's a great point.
So it's much easier to land and expand.
Right.
Get that initial sale and then get the follow-up and the follow-up and so forth.
Right.
They might be a customer for 5 years, 10 years, however long that's going to be. If you're measuring it, well, you can then bring that into your sales process.
Sure. Yeah.
So you're accounting for current, new customer revenue and then returning customer revenue. So what better way than tracking that lifetime value?
Oh, absolutely. And then I think that also can help to influence your customer acquisition costs a little bit more. Hey, maybe we can't afford to spend a little bit more on there because we understand that they're going to be with us a whole heck of a lot longer. So there's more value to that. So
yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
So you're driving traffic, you're bringing people to your website. Well, you typically have landing pages to help capture those leads, capture those contacts coming in. So you want to know that conversion rate.
Yeah.
So is that page effective? Typically within the industry, a 10% conversion rate is average. So if you're above or below that, well, you're either doing the right thing or you need to start over and try and improve and iterate. I wouldn't stay put at 10%. I would be tweaking and making some changes. It also has to do with your call to action.
Yeah.
Leading people to that landing page in the first place.
That makes a lot of sense.
So if the call to action doesn't coincide with the landing page that they come to, well, they're not going to convert.
Right.
So it's really looking at multiple different aspects of it.
Yeah, we could do probably a whole series of episodes just on landing page optimization and with conversion rates and all
Absolutely.
that. Absolutely. Well, okay, so number 5.
Traffic to lead ratio.
Okay.
So out of
This
all
sounds
the
exciting.
traffic that's coming to your website, how many of those are turning into a lead? And sometimes you hear, there's a great agency here in Atlanta called 98 to go. Okay. And the reason why they said 98 to go, well, it's 2% of your website traffic typically converts into a lead.
Oh, very clever.
Very
I like
clever.
that. Yeah.
So they said, well, we got to get after the other 98%. So
That makes sense.
Hence 98 to go.
Great
So that's
way of
how
looking
I
at
always
that.
remember that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I will remember that now forever. That's awesome.
Yeah. So
Number 6.
cost per lead.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of a big one.
So anytime we're spending money and investing into marketing, we gotta boil down and see
Right.
what's that total cost.
Right, yeah.
And like you mentioned earlier, are we able to invest more into that lead?
Right.
So which goes into lead to customer ratio. So when we're looking at the full funnel, traffic to lead to customer, what are all those different conversion rates?
Right.
And if you're able to, say, improve the sales cycle, so your lead to customer conversion rate improves and the cycle becomes shorter, well, typically that's ramped back to more traffic and more leads. So it's really, like to say in sales, it's a numbers game.
Yeah.
Well, in marketing, it's also it's a numbers and data game.
Yeah.
So you're really looking for tracking those metrics, because if you improve one of those, even 1% or 0.5%, it can have measurable impact.
Oh, yeah.
Through the entire sales funnel.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no. Well, I could add a lot, but I'm not. I'll let you keep going. This is awesome. Okay, so number, what is this, 8? 8. Wow, we're moving quickly. This is good.
Yeah. So organic traffic. So it seems like, okay, well, of course we want to track how many people are coming to our website. It's typically a great vanity metric.
Yep.
But based on all the other metrics that we're tracking, we can tie revenue right back to it. So increase that organic traffic. In turn, it should increase everything else down the line.
Absolutely. If we back up, organic traffic, the cost per lead to customer ratio, all that stuff, numbers game.
Yep, it's all numbers.
Awesome.
So.
Ooh, 2 left.
Social media traffic.
What is that?
Well, okay. There's a handful of different places that people are spending their time, typically when they're supposed to be working.
Okay.
So they're on Facebook, maybe Instagram.
I thought you were going to say something else, but it's all right. Okay.
No. They might be watching some YouTube videos or something.
Uh-huh.
Or not, or they're doing research. They might
Research.
be researching a problem or solution, trying to solve something within the organization.
Exactly.
So doing research on these different channels, looking for peer reviews or feedback on different things to do. Mm-hmm. So they're on social media.
Yeah.
Well, if your organization is publishing content on those social media channels, which everyone should be, even if you don't think you should be, you really should be.
Yeah.
Because that's where people are spending their time, way too much time, but really they're spending their time there.
Yeah.
And so that's where you need to have your resources available to them. So you need to measure it.
Yeah.
So how much traffic is coming in from those different channels, whether you're using a paid tool like a HubSpot or a free tool like Google Analytics, it will be able to tell you where that traffic is coming in from. So,
excellent.
very important.
Then last but not least,
mobile traffic, leads, and conversions.
Okay.
So, mobile. We all have this little device.
What's over there? It's
hidden
off camera.
somewhere, off camera.
Yeah.
Mobile phones, iPads even fall under that. Tablets.
Yeah.
People are spending their time there.
Yeah.
They're usually starting their research there. So they have a moment of time. They're in the middle of a meeting. Something is happening. They need to solve that problem. That's where the research begins. Mm-hmm. That's where that initial, what am I going to do to solve this problem? So they're on their phone. So mobile traffic, very important to be able to see how much traffic is coming in, and then what kind of leads are you getting? Is your website, does that experience lend itself
that's a good
to
point.
that initial landing of that person on your page?
Yeah.
If it takes a long time for the page to load, they might go find something else. So think through, or you're looking at your website and you're seeing your mobile traffic and you don't have any traffic there. It's very little.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you can then optimize your website and the way you're trying to sell and provide information for more of a desktop user experience.
Yeah.
So while the trends are saying mobile first, mobile everywhere, mobile's where it's all at, you really need to look at what your website is doing and tailor it to those stats.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, fun fact. IndustrialSage, correct me if I'm wrong, but most of our traffic that we get on our website is desktop.
Yeah.
Not mobile. Yeah. Social, though, different.
Different story.
Totally different story.
Lot of social on mobile.
Yep. So, anyways, hey, David, a lot of great stuff here. I know that we could probably do an episode on each one of these things or several. We might have to do that. So I think that was really cool. But one last question I'd have. So if you don't have like a HubSpot or a marketing automation platform, or like what are some of the best tools to be able to like even just start measuring this?
I think you want to start with a Google Analytics. Okay. It's able to give you that initial data of what is going on your website. There's no cost to it. It's private. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to share your data necessarily with Google, so you can make it private. So this is your data, and you can start tracking your metrics there.
Awesome. Okay. Well, this is great. I really enjoyed this. I think everyone hopefully will find this very valuable. I know they will, because there's a lot of questions that we get asked about this, and there can be a lot of a lot of acronyms and things flying around. You're like, oh yeah, I totally get it. But I think sometimes it's helped just giving it just a quick little dive, deep dive into it, or a shallow dive maybe, help to kind of uncover a little bit. But thanks. This was good. I'm excited. We're gonna have more coming down the pipe.
Love it.
So for your podcast, for the Agency Success podcast, maybe you can tell a little bit about that for those who might be interested.
Yes, absolutely. So the whole point behind speaking with agencies is that their hands are dirty working with industrial organizations across multiple verticals underneath industrial. And they know what's working. And the whole purpose of this podcast is to be able to showcase those success stories of how an industrial organization has taken a particular marketing activity and been successful with it. So what better way to hear it? And we don't just say, oh, we did some digital marketing and it turned out great. They're actually sharing the real details of what they did.
That's awesome.
That's actionable.
Yeah.
So you can listen to the podcast and then actually go do something after listening to it.
That's awesome. Well, that's great. So if you are interested in that, you go take a look at, you can go find us on any of the podcasting stations of choice. We're up there, and we're going to have more and more episodes that are going to be rolling out, sharing these great stories. So I highly recommend go check that out. If you are not a subscriber of Industrial Sage, you really, really want to go subscribe. You can go to IndustrialSage.com and subscribe and get all the loads of content that's coming down the pipes. We're going to have manufacturing news that's going to start here soon. Obviously, we've got the Agency Success podcast. We have this podcast and show that we've been doing, and we're going to have a whole lot more coming down the pipes. We are growing, we're expanding. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions, or if there's a particular topic or something you want to learn, or have a suggestion saying, hey, I think you guys should do this or cover that, reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. You can go to industrialsage.com/questions. And drop us a line. So anyways, that's it. That's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for watching today's episode on Industrial Sage.